Morning. I'm going to call the meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order for October 1st, 2024. First item we have on the agenda is approval of the agenda. We do have a agenda addition.
I'll second it.
Have motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Next up, Sheriff. Dad? We got 30 years, Chad Hagan, Sheriff's Department, and I had a chance to work with you when I was back at a real job, and you have 30 years is quite an admirable accomplishment. Sheriff, tell us about it.
Well, Chad's been with the Sheriff's Office for 30 years, so Chad, we do thank you for your service. Chad started in the Patrol Division way back in the 70s, I believe it was. Is that right?
Yeah, I was obviously 5 years old.
Yes, yes. Eventually working his way into juvenile investigations, where he spent several years investigating juvenile crimes, and he did a great job doing that. And he was promoted in 2010 to the rank of lieutenant in the Support Services Division, where he oversees warrants and transport, civil process, and court security, and he does a very good job in that. Chad also ensures that we are in compliance with all of our Lexipol policies to be sure that we are following post-board rules and regulations as well as state laws, and that's kind of a big hurdle to do as well, so we really appreciate you making sure that we're in compliance, and it seems like every year we get a gold star rating from Lexipol. And Chad likes his gold stars, and he also likes he also likes to be the center of attention. So, Chad, thank you again for all your years of service. We truly appreciate it. You have a lot of institutional knowledge that can't be replaced. So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheriff.
That's quite the following there.
Yeah. Somebody. Next, we have citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens here who wish to comment on any issue not on today's agenda? Steve, we got anybody online?
We do not, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner
Mr. Chair, I'd like to just take a moment to comment on the recent hurricane issue and Helene and the damage that was created. As somebody who represented and served in an area where there was devastating flooding, that's really a tragic deal to watch. And I just think that our thoughts and prayers should be out for all of them, and hopefully they can recover quickly. So, just wanted to bring that up.
One of the things that I most admired about this community when I first moved here was the 2006 flood. Watched this, both sides of the river, people pick up, and from that they've gone forward to the Diversion Authority and getting a lot of things done to address it. But those first few months were tough. And looking at what's going on the East Coast.
As a township officer in 1997, I had to walk into some of these homes where the inside of the homes were completely destroyed, and the moms were up on the upper level, just tears, just not knowing what to do. And it is devastating to those people. And I agree with you. In both those major floods, we had people from the tri-state area not only here helping, but throughout the country sending contributions and all those types of things. So anybody who can do anything to help those people, I think it would be really awesome.
So true. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have approval of payment of bills and vouchers.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next, we have approval of minutes from September 17th, 2024.
Move to approve the minutes. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, next up, Quinn Jagger and Tiffany January up for the request approval for replacement of social worker position in the Child Protection Services Unit.
Morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I'm here today to request approval to replace a social worker, like Chair Ebinger said. We had a resignation in our investigations and assessment unit. Got a staff that's moving closer to family due to a new addition in their family. So we will have an opening in our intake assessment and investigations unit. This staff is pretty critical, does those initial upfront face-to-face assessments for safety when we have investigations around maltreatment. They also do child welfare assessments, so they respond to things like chronic absenteeism, truancy, a little bit of everything. We have unique timelines to follow in these positions, very quick turnaround time, sometimes having to see children within 24 hours or 120 hours. So it is pretty vital that we get this position filled as quickly as possible to stay in requirements for those state and federal responses. We also require this position to have forensic interview training, which is only so often. So I think there's another one coming up in December, if not in first quarter of 2025. So we would like to onboard the person if possible to be ready to go in that training. So the person that was in this position hasn't been there for very long. They are past their probationary period, so they're on step 2, but we would anticipate going back down to grade 18 step 1. So there'd be some very, very minor cost savings in terms of the budget. I didn't have Darren run a wage calculator just because it's going from step 2 to step 1, but my preliminary numbers would be between $1,100 and $1,200 in savings. So some, but not a whole heck of a lot. Yield for any questions.
Is there a need for a backfill on this?
I would request that there would be backfill. I'm not sure that I anticipate that. We don't see a lot of lateral movement into the investigations unit, but I would request backfill if appropriate.
Okay. Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. Do all of the child protection workers require that specialized forensic training?
Yeah, we like them to go to forensic interview training. It's probably the most valuable interviewing training as a social worker. I guess that's my opinion. Really,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. It's the best way to engage families, in my opinion, and gain facts. The way to balance out the need to engage and to obtain facts for when we have to work investigations.
I guess it's the first time I've seen that detail
Oh, okay.
in the job description, so.
There's different types of forensic interview training. There's corner house, first witness, different locations, different training methodologies, but it's forensic interview training.
Very good, thank you.
And basically, that just assures that the evidence you need, if there needs to be civil or criminal follow-up, is
Yes.
admissible and obtained correctly.
Yeah, so evidence that's obtained during a forensic interview is admissible in court in criminal proceedings as well. It's designed to make it so that children and victims of maltreatment don't have to tell their story more than once. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the position with backfill if necessary.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, have motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Well, Quinn's here. I might ask, there was a large daycare facility in the community that closed yesterday, and I know that affects some of our social services kiddos. you want to just give a brief update about what you're doing to help mitigate and address?
Yep, we were informed last night that ABC 123 in Dilworth was closing effective immediately. It's my understanding they had about 40 kiddos that were receiving daycare services there that are kind of scrambling this morning. We did have several children that are in foster care that are in our custody that utilize that daycare center as well. So I know Tiffany and Amy and Michelle, supervisor of our child protection unit, are scrambling with their staff today to find coverage for what that looks like. I know the ECI is meeting today at noon for an emergency meeting as well, which I'll be a part of to see if there's other things that we can do, areas of support, and see if other daycare providers if we can do things like variances to help out in this time frame, or figure out what that looks like. But we're all going to come together today at noon, kind of triage and see. It's going to be a big hit. It's a big loss for our community with all the daycare shortages already. So,
Thank you.
Appreciate.
thank you so much.
Next up, we have James O'Donnell, Director of the West Central Juvenile Facility, and he's got a request approval to accept quotes for the female transition unit remodel.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Yeah, I'm here today to kind of move forward to get some contractors in line. I believe did you guys all get the sheet? Okay. Basically, I'm looking to do the remodel in 2 phases. The board approved earmarking $200,000 of last year's revenues over expenditures to do the remodel for this. We got some major, I would call major, but it's small amount of electrical, plumbing, and tile work. I'm working with Joe, and Brian Fredericks is going to be the acting project manager for this. Basically, we're just doing it all in-house. The quotes and everything we got there are in line with state auditing practices. So the ones in bold there are what I'm requesting to move forward with, to get on their schedule so they can get in there as soon as Detox vacates that area. We can get some of the big work we know that needs to be done, and then see where we got to go from there. But we're going to be well within budget, and I'm still hoping, very optimistic about our January 1st start date. So,
Very good questions for James. Commissioner Krabanoff.
Yeah, just somewhat curious, what are you expecting for numbers of people to be in there? How many young women in it at one time?
youth 8 is what is what I set the budget at.
Yeah.
But I mean, I intend on getting it licensed for 12.
Right.
Because sometimes needs go up and down, and stuff happens in youth's lives where they might need to stay longer.
Yeah.
Some might be able to leave earlier. So
Okay,
Is it,
thank you.
Commissioner Campbell.
as a follow-up to Commissioner Krabanoff's question, so when you license it for 12, is there, like in our jails, for example, we're licensed for a certain number, but you can't actually get to that capacity because you have to leave room. Is that the case for you, or are you, if you have 12, can you go up to 12?
I could hit 12, but yeah, it would be a staffing thing at that time. It's just basically the state's licensing it to 12 to know that physically we can handle it, and with the staffing plan we have, could theoretically work. But 8 is the golden number. But in the event that, you have 2 or 3 youth all of a sudden sporadically that need that service, we can get them in, and we can adjust from there so they have somewhere to go.
And just from an historical perspective, now this is going to be the first time we're having this for females, but historically, since we've started this transitional housing for the male population, what has been your population average count on the male side?
Say about 7. We try to hit 8, and priority comes to the Clay County youth, and then the youth that are coming out of our secure residential program. And right now, we have at least 5 girls in our programs over there right now that would be more suited in this program. So that's why I'm very optimistic that we hit that January 1st date because we have youth that could use these services right now, so.
And we ask those questions too as we plan for the future and the potential for a freestanding, non-secure facility at some point in time to incorporate that both transitional housing units in that would be ideal. And so it's just, I bring up I'm glad you brought up the population thing because that's important as we make our future plans and make sure that we plan that out for the future too, so. Yeah.
If this, some of the female clients you currently have in custody, this would be appropriate for them?
Yes,
So that would, inevitably, that would open up more beds in what is it,
it'd be some in both, or some in are secure and some of them are non-secure, that, yeah, it'll open up. So basically, there'll be the youth that would vacate from secure and stuff. We have a waiting list in secure for non-members that could easily fit into those areas as soon as these youth move out into the next program.
so the whole center benefits from this.
Yes.
Very good. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I remove the request for the Phase 1 remodeling project as proposed.
No, second.
A motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
And I do want to comment too, and we got Joe here. I'm excited to see that Joe, once again, you're taking on another project here, and it's kind of just remarkable what your staff is doing
Most definitely.
to not only keep things moving, but really benefiting every taxpayer in this county by taking on some of these things internally. It's really good. So thank you to both in your planning of this.
Thank you.
Motion passed. Hey, Justin, you're up.
Yes, good morning.
I'll let you call them. You got 3 items this morning.
So the first item I have is approval to advertise for the bridge replacement project on CASA 14. So we did bid this project this spring and we didn't get any bidders, so this is just re-advertising with a proposed letting date of November 5th. And the project number is SP 014614001. And there is federal funding on this, CASA regular and bridge bonding.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the advertising of the bridge replacement project on 14.
Second.
A motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
All right, and the second item I have is requesting approval to replace the Glyndon Highway shop roof. So as Joe has taken over in his new role, it's something that we've kind of gone out and looked at all the different outlying shops we have. This was a project that was identified. We have re-screwed this steel roof before, so it is in need of replacement. So we did receive 3 quotes, and I would be looking for a motion to approve the quote from Lund Roofing for the metal roof replacement in Glyndon.
Yeah, and just to talk from the funding portion of it, we'd be using Fund 19, and as part of our capital improvement plan, this was a 2024 plan project. I think we had an estimated budget of $30,000, so it did come in favorable to us. So that's a fund that we are planning to use it. So, questions?
Any questions for Joe or Justin?
As we move into the item number 6, I think there's also a plan right now, if I remember my updates on this, that any upfront costs would come out of Fund 19 as well. Is that correct? Are you confident you have?
Out of the next line item, or which,
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
next item
Yeah.
after this.
yeah, I
Next item.
think, that one was covered out of fund balances. Is that right?
I think we were looking to utilize fund balance in the next item.
Yeah, for that
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah, for that one.
Because originally I got, based on some updates by committee,
Mm-hmm.
that the suggestion would be Fund 19.
I think that would wipe out pretty much Joe's Fund 19, and so we went and talked with Lori.
That's why I just asked the question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we anticipated that we didn't have, there wasn't any money left in the resource recovery project, but Corey does have fund balance that would address
Yeah.
that.
I think historically, Fund 19 would be able to do that, but we have a roof we're planning for in 2026 at the highway. That's a significant project, so historically, we would have been able to use like what we've done in the past, but
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the quote from Lund Roofing for the metal roof replacement in Glyndon in the amount of $13,700.
We have a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. We have Joe with us and Corey Bang, Solid Waste Manager. Keep in mind, we have an agenda addition. We'll cover the original item and then request permission to rehire landfill operator due to resignation. Gentlemen?
yeah, I'll start off here, and then if Corey has any comments. Just a quick history on this. We're asking to replace the 4 large overhead doors in the Resource Recovery Center, and just a quick history on this is through the project, we had these rubberized doors that didn't work out, and they hadn't passed warranty from day one. So I think what we've done is we've went out and gotten quotes to replace these 4 doors with just a strong sectional type of door that Corey's okay with, and I think it's going to be a good change here. And then, but what we're doing is we're working with construction engineers. I see Ben is here today, and Burns and Mac. We're getting together to see if we can work out reimbursement costs from them. So we got one quote from Twin Cities garage door. Normally you'd need two to three quotes with this type of project, but we've reached out to other vendors and we can't find anybody. And I know I've worked with Ben and he's had trouble as well. Garage door vendors are hard to pin down right now. So Twin Cities Door is able to get this project done mid-November. So with that, Corey, any comments on your end?
One comment I'd like to make is we brought this to the SWAC committee and they wanted us to kind of push to get this done before it got cold. Because when those doors don't work in the cold, it's a pretty big area to be heating with two 26-foot doors wide open, so.
Any questions?
Yeah,
Mr.
just kind
Kravinoff.
of curious, can you just give a brief on the warranty and kind of what that's about, or
Yeah, I think,
how we're going to resolve it?
yeah, I'll try to, hopefully I can get this right. When you have a large project like this, there's typically a warranty phase with each type of product, of garage doors, boilers, whatever, you know. And usually you would sign off and at the end of the project saying that after 1 year that everything's been working fine or whatever, but we've never, these garage doors have not worked since day one, so, and I think there's been a huge effort between us and construction engineers and their subs to try to figure it out, but it's been a very complicated situation. So, so nothing has really been signed off, so we're at a point where there was no warranty, or the warranty is, I guess, there is no warranty, yeah, so we're looking to replace it and try to work it out through maybe some legal matters, or however, if we can
Right.
work this out, so.
But they've certainly been aware of it from,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, yeah, we've had several meetings with the contractors, the vendors, And I know Ben and Construction Engineers has called in, tried to get a hold of the reps, or the Wayne Dalton is the actual manufacturer of this. And so they've got them in here too. And so, yeah, we are still wanting to meet and try to figure out how do we pay for this afterwards. But right now we want to get the garage door done.
Yeah.
But yeah, warranty was never met is basically it.
And Commissioner Crowden, I mean, I could just add to what Joe said. We have had several meetings about it. I'm in support of moving forward, getting this fixed. There are different methods to move forward to get reimbursement that we'll work through. If we can't come to a reasonable resolution, we can move things forward, so.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Commissioner Campbell.
Mr. Chair, serving on that whole project from the beginning, it's, I think Ben would even agree that this has been just a real disappointing part of that project. Commissioner Kravinoff, going to your question, you know, the cost that we have on these doors is $98,000, but the original doors that we had installed with what we had hoped to have all of these high-speed items and all those things was $250,000, I believe it was. You know, so we paid an awful lot of money for something to this day has not worked. And so going to Brian's comments, I think there needs to be some sort of relief for us for not only having to pay this $98,000, but the original $250,000. And you know, so we will continue to pursue that. But this does, and SWAC, you know, Commissioner Mojo and I serve on SWAC, and Corey is 100% correct. We all believe that this needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. And so it's ready for colder weather, so.
Any other questions, observations? Thank you, Ms. Melton. Good to know, you know, we're competently represented in this, and the county's interests will be taken care of.
Well, I'll move to approve the door replacement project using Twin City Garage Door with approval for sprinkle and contingent funds of $98,250.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that, but I don't know that contingency funds is the right wording, because we don't have any contingency anymore. I think the proper would be reserve funds.
Fund balance, yeah.
Fund balance.
Yeah.
Okay, what type of action then? Okay.
And I reference that 5,000 in there just as something, this is kind of a retrofit, so in case we run into something that we have to modify or whatever that isn't part of the original quote, I'd added that little bit of money in there too, so yes.
Well, you want me to?
Well, I just,
No,
if you're okay with that
Oh, totally.
correction in your
I
motion.
just want to make sure he has
Yeah.
the latitude to get the job done, too.
Yeah, and you know, that meets my second too, but
Yeah.
just changing that to.
Better word, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Corey, we do have the additional item on rehire of landfill operator due to resignation.
Yes, I apologize for the short notice, but I met with Darren yesterday, and we didn't feel that we needed to go to pick because there was really no changes to his job description for this portion of it. We did add the new person would have to get a CDL. But Wayne, our 18-year veteran of running the equipment on the landfill hill, has decided to move on to Becker County. He's going to move into their planning and zoning, so I would ask that we could advertise for his replacement with potential backfill.
Questions? We have a motion?
Move to rehire.
A motion, a second. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Next up, committee reports. And I believe Mr. Campbell, we'll start with you.
All right, thank you. Tuesday, September 24th, we did have our EDA meeting, and that we all serve as the board for the EDA for the county, and we met with our local counterparts, had an awful lot of fine discussions. I think it's good that we brought everybody to the table and just had an awful lot of good comments and trying to find out what our opportunities are and where we can best invest our local dollars from whether it be loan funds and those types of things. So it was overall a good conversation. On the 25th, we had our Prairie Lake Solid Waste meeting in Perham. Everything is going well there. I don't have a lot of new things to report. I will say that they were that facility was very fortunate in their health insurance premium increases for the upcoming year. They received an increase for single policies of 1.7% and single plus one for 3.8%. I think the county would be screaming up and down if we got rates like that. So, and we did have we did get an audit report. That audit came through very, very clean for that facility. Then on Thursday, September 26th, multiple meetings. They started off with the Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting that's been talked about here. Corey had attended a deal put on by MPCA regarding the future of demo landfills, so we had an awful lot of discussion. There's a lot of concerning things that are being proposed in their rules that they're writing for that. So we'll have to be monitoring that. It's looking like it could be a very expensive future to have a demolition landfill in our county. So we'll have to be keeping a close eye on that. If we didn't have that, our landfill, the life of our landfill would look completely different than it does today, and that's very unfortunate. And Corey did give a number of other updates, including the position today that we just acted on. At 1 o'clock that same day, we had our Clay County Joint Powers Authority for the diversion. We did have some information regarding, I think it might be the second draft RIMP loan that's for county landowners in Clay County, and so they're in the process of working on that. That can be a real advantage for our property owners to have that ability to go through that RIMP loan program. So that will be coming forward. And we did deal with an amended farming access issue. And then we did approve 2 negotiated summaries on these were not land acquisitions, but I believe they were flowage easement issues, and we agreed to compensation on those. Then at the diversion meeting later that day, it was kind of work as usual. We did have the colonel from the St. Paul District of the Corps here, and they had been touring, and of course, Governor Burgum from North Dakota had gone on a tour with them the previous day and saw how the project is really moving on. The one issue of concern of that meeting was under the consent agenda. There was Clay County's 37-foot MOU that we had been working on extensively that deals with all of the road raises that would need to be completed north, primarily in the Georgetown area. And there was a request that be taken off of consent agenda. There appeared to be some opposition to that MOU being signed by the Diversion Authority because of funding issues. And I right away. So it did, it was taken off of consent. And then when we got to that line item, there were a couple of board members who spoke about not receiving Minnesota money to do these projects. And I right away reminded them of the JPA and the language in the JPA and what it says. And what it says is that any money that on behalf of Minnesota would have to come from the state of Minnesota. And the only requirement, which is, I'm not going to, when I say the only requirement, it's a significant requirement, but the only requirement that we have is that we will work aggressively with the state of Minnesota to obtain the funding. And we have been doing that. In these last sessions, I believe both, again, we have our legislative members who have been down in St. Paul actively pursuing. We had a joint, a joint ask between the city and Moorhead for the full needs to finish the project. I believe last year that number was at 52 million. So we've been following through with what our responsibilities were according to the signed JPA. Prior to, I think both these people who were asking these questions weren't on the board at that time. And so anyway, so ultimately, what I did suggest to them is that the work that needs to be done, and I've had several conversations with Justin on this, and some of those projects, it's not necessary that they be done right now. And so what I emphasized to the board is that MOU needed to be signed, but that we could put the condition on there that we would wait as long as possible to do the work on those projects while we continue to pursue funding. Because once the work is done, we can no longer pursue the funding because the state will not go back and pay for something that's already been done. But we also need to understand that all of these projects, everything needs to be completed and in place before the project is operational, which is 2027. That is projected to be 2027 now. So this work will need to be done. So ultimately, then the vice chair of the board made a motion to go ahead with the MOU with the delay in construction. And we agreed to that, but the MOU is to be signed. And so that's where, this is kind of long, but it's important that from our side of the river, and the people up in that area know that we will not let this go. And there was a little bit of harping that there's no money coming from Minnesota, and the board chair, Mayor Carlson, also reminded them that the state of Minnesota has already put in $100 and some million towards things that are eligible for this project. So, that being said, there was still somebody who insisted that not enough money was coming from us, and then I did remind him that we do have 65,000 people in Clay County, and a lot of money from those 65,000 people are spent over in Fargo, and we're paying their Fargo and Cass County sales tax too. So we are participating in that regard and helping pay for the project. So in the end, the motion carried unanimously to sign the MOU, and so we'll see where that. We'll keep working on when those projects will be complete, but they will be completed. There were several other right-of-way issues, updates on. Corps of Engineers had a good update. For those who are interested, if you go to the diversion website, every month there's an updated drone flyover of the project, and it's really impressive. It's to see what's going on. So I would encourage people, if you have interest in that, to take a look at that. And yesterday we had two meetings. The first one, Commissioner Gross and I were at the West Central Regional Water Board meeting in Hallstead, and it was actually the first official meeting as a board after Judge Rosenfeld did her action to put that board in place. And we continue to go over the governance by who's going to, I think it was, there was, the chair was elected from Norman County, the vice chair was Don from Clay County, the secretary was from Polk County, and the treasurer was me from Clay County. Job I really wanted was to be treasurer of that deal.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
or Ms. Commissioner Campbell, now that that's an official board, will there be published minutes that are available somewhere?
Yes, and we went through that process, and I think there's a learning curve on behalf of some of them that they're gonna need to know that now that we are a public entity, exactly what you talked about, how that's run and the minutes, and there were some of us that really insisted that we need to work on bylaws, and there was a couple of them that says we don't need bylaws. There's some of the other, and I think ultimately I said we need bylaws, and as a matter of fact, the water resources that we're currently this current phase of the project would get from is from East Central Water District in North Dakota, and guess what? They have bylaws, so we have some bylaws to use to maybe as a starting point. So yeah, the good question, and that will become a standard.
I think the minutes have been, they've been taking minutes right along.
Yeah.
They're available for every meeting.
Yeah, they have been, because we weren't really an official deal, there was no formal approval of them or anything, but there were minutes, and somebody could still go back and get those too.
Yes.
Several meetings back.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Mojo, we did post this meeting according to open meeting laws for yesterday.
Okay. I'm just trying to keep you all here longer. Joking. My last meeting was yesterday afternoon. We had a subcommittee on insurance. There were some issues that we needed to probably talk about before we go to the full insurance committee. And one of the issues that has come up is with the higher increase of the annual premiums and the 50/50 cost share that we do on those increases. What we've always tried to do is in our cafeteria plan for all employees is that there would always be the ability to buy all of the required policies. So we require the single health, we require the single dental, and we require a life insurance policy right there in those three. We require those, and so it's I don't think this has ever been a formal policy, but it's always been the intent that the minimum cafeteria plan, or the cafeteria plan would cover the full premiums for at least one or two of the plans, not necessarily, we have 4 plans. And so as of right now, it's down to there's only one plan that minimum cafeteria contribution would cover, and it's the highest deductible, which also means that for some employees, the potential risk of out-of-pocket is quite high, right? Darren, am I saying that correctly? So the proposal was that we would, and this is it's gonna go out to the insurance committee this week too for their discussion and consideration. But because of the timeline for open enrollment and these things that are coming up, that Anna needs to have a decision for us by next Friday. And so I'm talking about this today because I think it's gonna come before the board as a formal request next Tuesday to increase all 4, because you gotta increase them all the same. The contribution to all 4 policies, I think it's like by $4.88, something like that. We'll get the final number. per month. And Lori did the numbers. Excuse me, I think the numbers would turn out that would be like $9,000,
It's a little over $9,000.
a little over $9,000. That, and of course, we want that to be eligible for 2025. So that's going to be coming before you. There was also some conversation about the ability for people who are at age 65 and older to opt out of coverage. I think there might be a couple people around this table that might fit into that category. And Jenny, you're not one of them. But anyway, the whole idea there would be that, you know, that, I mean, they could continue receiving the cafeteria contribution, but they would have the ability to opt out and then go into buying Medicare coverage and all of that, and you could still buy a really good coverage through Medicare that would cover all of the needs that our current health care provider covers. And you know, it's no secret that once somebody enters the age of 65 and older, that your chances of maybe having higher claims is more significant than somebody who might be young, like Commissioner Mojo.
Why she hangs around with us.
Yeah, she keeps us in line. But anyway, it's so that's another thing I think we really want the board to consider, to be able to have that opt-out clause. And then there's a third issue in regards to there's some married couples, and I don't know that we're ready to do that quite yet. I don't, but Lori had put some information together that really shows that if we were to make some changes to allow the change in how they operate that cafeteria plan and what policies they choose, it could be a significant savings both for the county and the employee. And I think we're down to probably, you know, maybe 9 couples that might pertain to. So I don't know, Darren, if you want to add any more to that, but.
I think
No, I think you covered it very well. The married couples being allowed to get just one family plan instead of a single and a family plan. That was the third thing that we looked at yesterday, and it would end up probably be a savings, especially for those that are getting grandfathered status as far as the county contribution goes. So we're going to look at that a little bit more. Lori's going to do a little bit more calculations on, like, if a married couple, both of them work for Clay County, and one's grandfathered, one's not grandfathered, or both are non-grandfathered, she's going to work up some numbers on that. But I think it's going to be a savings for the county, not only the county, but the employees as well.
Yeah, I think the numbers, you know, she did run the numbers on if they're both grandfathered, which we have one, I think there's 4 of that in that category where they're both
I don't have my
employees of the county. But there's 4 of them, they're both employees of the county, and it's Lori's, you know, determination so far that by making this change, we could save $10,000 for each one, for each couple, by making these adjustments, and it would provide them better opportunities on their part too, and savings to them. So this has been good work on the part of Darren and Anna, but I know I've gone on this, but this is a big deal for all employees, and I think we need to try to continue with the intent that we've always had to provide that minimum coverage for a single policy. And
Right. It will cover the 2600 plan, the 2600 plan, and the high deductible 6750 plan, if we add that $4.88 per month to the non-grandfathered single plans, or single county contribution. So I think we're going to do a little bit more calculations on that, and Anna's going to send out a survey to the union's representatives on the insurance committee The thing is, we're really under the gun right now because we're just starting open enrollment, so there may be a few calculations that have to be redone, and that all has to be done before next Friday.
Right.
Not this coming Friday, but the following Friday. So that's why we need the vote from the union and the insurance committees, and then the bringing that to the board on Tuesday to make some decisions so we can make all those changes prior to next Friday.
And none of these recommendations would be contrary to any bargaining unit agreements we have,
Correct.
correct?
Yeah, we're actually
We're
enhancing our
Enhancing.
package instead of taking anything away.
I was just gonna say that would help our recruiting as well.
And that's also, that was also a part of our conversation. So I think these are, potentially some really positive things gonna go on here. I would go on, but I'm done.
I assume you're done?
I'm done.
Commissioner Gross.
We have an open house at 1.
Last week we had the EDA meeting, which had representation from Moorhead, Dover, that Barnesville here, and they all pretty much were in agreement that we'd like to get more representation from Minnesota side when it comes to doings or people coming to this area to build. Friday, I think it was, we had the audit meeting for the 2023. I don't think anybody's got copies of that yet, so we can't discuss that yet, I guess, but it was a good meeting, so everything looked good on that. Yesterday, the West Central Water District meeting, which Kevin has talked about already. We set meetings that there will be meetings every last Monday of the month for the water district, so plus, as Kevin said, the board was sort of appointed, and we plan on having it's been approved by Judge Jade Rosenfeld, so everything's all set for that thing to go on, and I think the people, in fact, I think Pearlie is really waiting for water to come down there. They need it right now, they don't need it next year, year after, they need it now, so we really got to start moving on that. And those are my meetings.
Thank you. Commissioner
I could go on, but I'm not.
Commissioner Kravinoff, your turn to go on.
Thank you. Well, a lot of what I went through that has already been talked about. So anyway, I too, along with the others of you, was part of the EDC, EDA meeting that we had last Tuesday. I think pretty much everything's been said. I think the one thing that I was impressed in that conversation is the awareness that the three representatives that came, they were to the fact of certain grants out there that could work for our communities. They seem to all be lockstep in that. I think there was a conversation which we all agreed as commissioners, trying to have a deeper conversation or keep the conversation going with all of them, that if there's ways we can be communicating with our legislators also, or build more cohesive voice for projects that these communities all need, we can maybe do that in a more effective way. So anyway, enjoyed that discussion. That afternoon, or I guess it was next day, Wednesday, then I had the monthly board meeting for the Historical and Cultural Society. Pretty much business as usual. A couple of things just that are going on there. On Saturday, there will be at the MCOMS from 3 to 8, 3 in the afternoon till 8 that evening, a tour of India. People coming in, you can get a feel of what's a feeling of their culture and many things and things that they do in that part of the world. Also, just a reminder that on the 12th there'll be a fundraiser for a 5K. Come on down early that Saturday morning and walk or run a 5K and earn money or fundraise for the society, and then also the big event they're still working on, which is the Pangea event on November 16th. That normally gets around 900 people. Right after that, Commissioner Mojo will probably give much more detail on this. I went to the open house. I enjoyed going to that. That was in Comston, just getting a feel of the upcoming projects that are going to be taking place. I think you had a meeting the next day, is my understanding. So I'll leave the rest to you, but it was good for me to see. Really helps when Justin's coming forward all the times with these things to get a good view of what's going to be kind of what's to the forefront over the next 3-4 years, as well as maybe 10 years out. And then when you start getting out to 2030, that's starting to get a little beyond, but, or what's it, 2030 to 2050 maybe, way out there. Anyway, who knows? May not need roads by then, I don't know. Let's see, Thursday, it was a more executive board meeting, met with Quinn, Michelle Carney, and myself, and along with Marissa for the Clay County Collaborative. And Marissa's our coordinator. She's going to be, as indicated, she wants to retire from the position. So we all got together in trying to work on what a future job description was, going deeper dive into what is it we really need in a collaborative person or a director. So anyway, long and short of it, we're in the development of that and be more to come. We're, probably have 1 or 2 more meetings on that. So we make sure we're, when we're hiring this next person, it's meeting the detail that we want. Then on yesterday, again, I don't think I have to repeat everything you said, Kevin, but
Go ahead.
yeah,
Time.
you were spot on, and so if I can say it that way. But and thank you for the ads that you had there. And I think, you know, I think it's so important that again, you know, we you know, the work we did on the COLA, the work we did on the wage study, and on the side of the employees, and and this is that last piece. And there, you know, when it comes to health insurance and the packages, that's going up 9%. You know, while the others were 3 and 3. So it's all part of a package, and we aren't. Who knows what it's going to be in 2026? We'll renegotiate. But I appreciate the conversation. I'm glad, you know, we keep looking at different options. Not only did we benefit to the employees, but certainly a benefit to the county where those cost savings can be. So that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also attended the EDA meeting last week. Really grateful for the conversation and planning forward and how we can continue to double down on the great economic opportunities within Clay County with leveraging our shared resources. There was a construction meeting at the Moorhead Lakeland Clinic. Really excited that that is coming to the wrap-up of completion. They will have a ribbon cutting in the next couple of weeks. I'll make sure and get that invitation to you when I receive it. I attended the SWAC committee meeting, as Commissioner Campbell reported on. Really good insight from that committee. Later that afternoon, or morning rather, I attended the MetroCog electric vehicle readiness study. Certainly with the addition of additional weight that electric vehicles are putting on our roads, it certainly will be stressing our roadways. It looks at where charging stations are and what additional federal and state grant opportunities are out there. There's currently a couple sites in Clay County that are available for charging in Barnesville and in Moorhead. And I believe there's one at the Muscatel in Holly as well. I also attended the MCC JPA meeting, as was reported on by Commissioner Campbell. That afternoon, I also attended the MetroCog special call meeting to approve the Metro 2050 MTP Transportation Moving Forward Plan. There's been a lot of citizen input on that. That's been something that we've been working on with the long-range plan since April 2023, so that did get approved. And then the only other item I have is that the Heart of Clay is having their annual fundraiser this evening. Here it is. The Sweet Freedom event this evening at the Marriott at 7. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. I also attended on the 24th, the Clay County EDA meeting. It's been covered well, but I think this is great. We're going to start a quarterly meeting, touching base with each other and looking at a lot of the options we've got to benefit and what we need to do together legislatively. On Wednesday, the 24th, I also attended the Clay County 2023 audit meeting. That will be released here to the commission at a near date, but nothing in there surprising. On the 26th, Thursday, later that day, I attended the Diversion Authority's Finance Committee meeting. Again, the challenges that Commissioner Campbell talked about to the Minnesota projects funding came up at that meeting as well. And I think between John Shockley and Mayor Carlson, who were at the meeting, a good job was done, just indicating that $100 million was the cap for Minnesota contribution when the MOU, or when the Joint Powers Agreement was put together. Up to this point, 132 million has been paid by Minnesota entities towards that. But we are not claiming that there's no longer any funding needs. There are funding needs, and we need to get the state of Minnesota to meet those needs. They're committed to meet those needs, and it needs to be brought to the legislature's attention repeatedly. And doing this in combination with the city of Moorhead, I think, is advisable, and hopefully will be productive. But there's a lot of other flooding needs throughout the state that are detracting from our ability to deal with the legislature and get some funding towards these needs. So I think we're resolute in this. The Joint Powers Agreement, as Commissioner Campbell indicated, or the MOU, as he indicated the next day, was passed unanimously. But we've got work to do with the legislature on the remaining funding for these projects. Following day, I did attend the Diversion Authority meeting, which Commissioner Campbell did a good job of covering. And on Friday the 27th, I remotely attended the Grant Advisory Panel for the Safe and Secure Courts Program. We have 25 grant applications in, and we discussed some of the details on evaluation of those grant applications. And that completes my report. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the 24th, I participated in the EDC meeting. Again, appreciate everyone's willingness to come together and talk about the opportunities within Clay County. That afternoon, I met with Sheriff Empting on a series of different issues. On the 25th, I participated in the exit interview, and again, once the state auditor signs the audit, we'll hand it out to you, and we also talked about bringing representatives from the auditor's office here to share that report with the full commission. On the 25th, I had an administrator touch base group with Fargo, Cass County, City of Moorhead. We discussed budget, workforce challenges, and also the regional dispatch construction project. On the 26th, participated in the SWAC meeting that's been well covered. That morning also participated in the MCIT administrative meeting. As you recall, one of the things that we've added to Joe's responsibility as facilities manager is risk management, and we meet on a quarterly basis for our going through assessments, staff audits. Each department has a representative that's present to make sure that we stay up to date with that. I appreciate the recognition in response to some of the things that Joe's been doing, and this risk management has just been another example of a good work that he's done. On the 26th, I also participated in a meeting with the GIS Communications Department in regards to development of a web page, kind of through our discussion with the EDA. Of highlighting many of the good things here within the county. There'll be more on that later in early into next year. Participated in the MCC JPA meeting in the afternoon of the 26th, and also virtually attended the Fargo-Moorhead Diversion Authority meeting. On the 27th, as I think was mentioned earlier, we have a ribbon cutting this afternoon for our DMV and our withdrawal management facility. We had to participate in a planning meeting thanks to Jackie and all of the efforts of our staff to get that ready for today. 27th, participated in NACO High Performance Leadership web meeting. On the 30th, participated in the West Central Regional Water District meeting. That's been well covered. Also, yesterday met with James and Josh at the juvenile facility in regards to non-secure programming. DHS is going to be coming out and looking at the non-secure facility later this month, a date to be determined, but somewhere around the week of the 21st. Participated in the insurance committee meeting yesterday. That was well covered. Just of note, tomorrow there for our Clay County residents, there's going to be a county flu shot clinic. You are asked to make an appointment. That's going to be held between 8:15 and 4:15. Again, please bring your insurance cards. Tomorrow evening, the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber is going to be hosting a candidate forum here in this room from 5 to 6:30. And again, as I mentioned, ribbon cutting today for the DMV and withdrawal management. Just a note to our citizens, the DMV is going to be opening October 21st. And we do not have the exact date on the withdrawal management, although we did have somebody try to check in last week. So we want to make sure that they continue to stay at this location. And just for the board's notice, Darren and I will be at our association meetings from Wednesday afternoon through Friday. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Melton? Eric?
Nope, you've covered all my stuff already. Thanks.
I try. Jackie?
No, Mr. Chair, but very excited for our open house and ribbon cutting today.
All right. Anybody, you got any additional items for the good of the order? If not, we're adjourned.